Hi, what's up, everybody? Been a while since I did a video. Basically, just thought I'd hop back in it and talk a little bit about general coping tips for a low value male. So, maybe that's a little bit of a controversial title to have. A lot of people will say, well, why are you calling certain men low value? But I think for a lot of us who have looked into dating stats and things like that, there's a lot of very difficult statistics to grapple with when it comes to male potential in the dating market. Basically, the dating market as a man is stacked against you, especially nowadays with things like Tinder and dating apps. It's pretty easy to see that even unattractive women can get hundreds of matches, and generally average men, or even a little above average men, can get few. So, we can talk a little bit about why this is, but I think there's other videos you can watch if you're confused about why this is happening. To put it simply, there's probably an evolutionary basis to this, is that women are a lot pickier with who they're dating, and women generally have more value on the dating market than men do. To put it briefly, if you look at statistics from OkCupid, they published them that the men rate women on an average bell curve. So there's a few very unattractive women and a few very attractive women, but most women fall in the average spectrum. Women don't rate men this way. Women rate the average man as unattractive, and then a very small percentage is attractive. So like a 5 out of 10 is maybe like 10% of the population. I think the statistic was that they rate 80% of men as unattractive online. So what does this mean? This means that a lot of men go on dating websites and dating apps, and they come in with high hopes. They think, oh, I'm a good guy, I'm not too bad looking, I'm all right, and so I'm gonna get a lot of success on these things. And they don't. They don't get a lot of success on these things. And that's part of reality. Is you're measuring your expectations against what actually happens out in the world. So basically, a lot of guys find that maybe you're not as high value as you thought you were, because you're not, women aren't, beating down your door. So this video is not necessarily about how to become a high value man or how to get into a relationship. There's a billion videos, I don't know, pickup artists, and look into the science of dating and what women find attractive and all that. That's not what the purpose of this video is. This video is about coping mechanisms for a guy who is not high value. This is about trying to enjoy your life as much as possible, given some of the fairly harsh Darwinian truths to dating. So the first thing I would say is that this does align with pickup artists and things like that, is that you should, if a relationship and dating is important to you, then you should try what you can to improve. A lot of men are lazy. They are both lazy and afraid of putting themselves out there, and will half-ass trying to get dates. So in terms of, if you are unhappy with your dating life, at least take a look at what you can change. And it's a basic truth, a truth of wisdom. Give me the, it's a serenity prayer. Give me the strength to know what I can change and what I can't change, and to know the difference. In many things in life, you have to take a look at, like, what can I actually do? What can I affect? What is possibly under my control? And then try and change those things. And then accept the things that cannot change. So for instance, something like height is a big sticking point for a lot of guys in dating because it has an effect on dating. Women prefer taller guys, and that's just a general fact. They prefer taller guys, and height is not something you can change outside of very extreme surgeries. Now, if you have the money and you want to, get leg lengthening surgery, you can. That is if that's under your control, then go ahead. But generally, that's something that the average person cannot change. So you have to accept it. You just have to accept that these are the cards life dealt you. And yeah, it's not great. It'd be nice to be born taller, but it would be nice to be born a billionaire, and I'm not, and most people are not. So it's a natural part of life that you have to accept simply the things that cannot change outside of extreme examples. So the leg lengthening surgery, if you wanted to do that, that's I'm not gonna hold any moral qualms against anybody that wants to improve their life. So if you want to do that, go ahead. So accepting the things that you cannot change. If you have a disability and you cannot change that, then you can't change it. So you have to live with it and manage it and deal with it and accept it. And that's just part of being healthy psychologically, is accepting the things that simply cannot change, that simply will not be different for you. Now, so this gets to something I was thinking about. There's usually two extreme ideas, and one's more prevalent than the other in dating. The more prevalent one, the more normie advice you'll get is, oh, if you're having trouble, you haven't done enough. It's all on you. Oh, if you're having trouble with women, you gotta hit the gym, you gotta dress better, you gotta get a better job, you have to approach more women, you have to get more comfortable, you have to be funnier. And I'll get to that. The other advice, which is not as common, but you'll see it online, is the incel black pill advice of, it's over. You're a 5'9" Indian with thin wrists, it's over. Never gonna find a mate, ever. You can see that both of these examples are fairly extreme. The black pill example, the incel example, I would say is the more extreme one. If you're going to default to one of the two extremes, default to the one that actually gets you trying to improve yourself, because just the idea of improving yourself will make you happier and give you goals and give you fulfillment, and at least you'll feel better. The incel advice of it's over, it's done, you'll never find anyone, is fairly self-defeatist. And there is an extreme aspect here, because obviously there are some guys who will be dealt a pretty bad hand when it comes to dating, and that's life. That gets back to the acceptance thing. The incel black pill worldview is basically that if you fall short on a few particular traits, you don't even try, because there's no amount of effort is going to change things. And you know what? It's not always off base for everybody. Okay, if you are a 5'1" man, hitting the gym and dressing better and approaching a lot of women might not actually have that much success for you. But you know what? It might. It might have some success for you. It basically, self-improvement is about expanding the window of opportunity for yourself. Maybe not to become some Casanova who's has like 5 supermodels on his bed, but maybe just being able to get into a relationship with somebody. Is just doing that little bit extra will give you a boost. Now the problem with the self-improvement worldview is that self-improvement is kind of a bootstrap mentality of, if you have any problems in your life, it's because you're not trying hard enough, which obviously people are very resistant to this when it comes to poverty. It's like, oh, you're homeless, you live in the ghetto, you can't find a minimum wage job, just try harder. It's all your fault. You obviously don't want it bad enough, when that's not taking into account very strong economic, institutional aspects that are keeping people from progressing in life. It's at least from what I've read in studies, that the social class you're born into 9 times out of 10 is where you end up at the end of your life and where your children end up. The upper classes of Italy from the 1400s are still the wealthiest people in Italy. You know, wealth, it's not easy to move up in social class, and a lot of the social movement that happened was because of specific social changes. You know, the rise of capitalism, so you know, middle class capitalists could become super wealthy. You know, this isn't the Middle Ages. Somebody like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg are capable of becoming extremely wealthy, even though, you know, they're not from a high class noble background. But that's an economic issue. We're talking about a dating issue of the idea that if you have any trouble with dating, it's all on you, which kind of has the implication that there are certain tips and tricks and changes you can make in order to become one of the most sought after men, which I don't believe to be true outside of very specific scenarios. I think you can be an extremely sought after man by becoming extremely rich and famous. That will get you more women than anything is and more female attention is becoming famous and becoming rich. But that is out of the question for almost everybody. But there's some leeway here, because when we're looking at things we can change, and I'm kind of getting away from coping mechanisms, but I think this is kind of related. Actually, I think this is a fairly important thing to keep in mind, is that if you are unhappy with your dating life and your potential for dating, whether it be for casual sex or getting into a relationship, getting married, keeping a marriage, things like this, then if you aren't accurately looking at the issues you have in your life and trying to improve them, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So, for one thing, it's, you know, I would never say, and I would think it's extremely bad advice to say to a 300-pound man who does not shower, you know, it's over. You know, you should lose the weight. You should lose weight if you're having trouble with dating, and definitely shower and keep, you know, personal cleanliness going. But an incel would say, no, it's over. But don't default to that defeatist view. Try to change the things you can change, because you never know if it's some specific factor is holding you back. You know, and because of the pickiness of women when it comes to relationships and dating, there can be a lot of factors that you're not taking into account. So just the fact that you don't dress well, you know, could be holding you back. The fact that you know, aren't focused on your appearance, you know, losing weight and going to the gym could be holding you back. Your job could be holding you back. Your social connections to people could be holding you back. Your personality in terms of being unfriendly or unable to make jokes or form easy connections with people could be holding you back. So it's important to take a look at what you can change and then put in effort into those things in order to get some measure of success. But then once again, there are certain factors that are going to hold you back forever, and you have to accept those. So when we're getting to coping as a low-value male, if we can call you that, or maybe just an average male, what does it look like to cope? So we've tried, you know, improving ourselves as much as possible so that we are putting ourselves out there, trying to find a girlfriend, find a wife, or just find people to, you know, have personal relationships with. But you're doing that, but what else can you do to cope? So I'm going to get into positive psychology here of what actually makes an individual happier. And I've been reading a lot of studies. I've been really looking into it because for me, you know, it came from a place of I was unhappy and I wanted to be happier. I wanted to be more content and satisfied with my life. So I started taking the studies and research that positive psychology has put into effect, and I took that in order to try to make changes in my own life to be happier. So what I've learned from positive psychology is that one of the biggest predictors of health and happiness, especially as a person gets older, is social relationships. It's, if you have to simplify what makes people happy, it's relationships, relationships, relationships. Okay? If you have any doubt that relationships make people happy, please question that. Please take an honest look at that and read some of the research, because it seems overwhelmingly likely that if you are unhappy, it's because you don't have enough close relationships. Okay? So coming from the stance, and I would say, you know, this goes for low value, high value, men, women, whoever, but I'm directing this, you know, at the low value male population, is that even if you don't have success in dating, you need to prioritize close relationships. So what does this look like? Well, make sure to spend time with friends and family. You know, not every family is going to be good. There's a lot of problems with family, but these are things where you can work on some of your social skills, where you can put up with some of the shit that, you know, your friends and family do, and accept people a little bit better. And that takes time, and if you get irritable quickly with other people, it's not going to help you, because you do need to form strong relationships. And if it's at the point where your family or your friends are so completely toxic that you can never form any relationship with them, say they, you know, steal from you or constantly berate you, then try to form strong relationships with people who don't do those things. So try to form strong relationships with people who really will listen to you and be friends with you and support you. You owe it to yourself to be happier. So do those things. Do not diminish the possibility that it's relationships that are holding you back from happiness. Especially, it's been shown that marriage makes people happier generally, and especially for men. And so having that strong relationship with somebody will make you happier. But, you know, what do you do if you're not in a relationship? You don't isolate yourself by any means. You have to form these strong relationships. So that keep that in mind. You know, if you're going to do anything, if you're dissatisfied with life and you're looking at what can I do, get those relationships going. Try to actively, you have to be an active participant, because a lot of people will not go out of their way to talk to you sometimes, or maintain a social relationship. You know, things just naturally fall apart. You have to forget about things naturally falling apart. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the effort. It's like depositing money into a bank, you know. And studies have shown, when it comes to romantic relationships, that, you know, basically 5 positives to 1 negative is the good bank account balance. That if you're not putting in as much, then you're going to have a tougher time in that relationship. So make sure with your friends or family, put in that money into the bank. You know, give your mom a call and say, how are you? How was your day? You know, I really love that meal you made, blah, blah, blah. Okay, get those relationships going, because it's going to save you. You're not going to lounge, and you're not going to be stuck in that incel black pill miasma where you're just talking with people online who tell you to rope, you know, because suicide is the option. You're not going to get anywhere close to that if you have real world social relationships that make you feel good. Okay, so keep that in mind. Social relationships. Okay, that's one thing. What else has positive psychology shown? Gratitude. Gratitude makes people happier, and this has been shown through multiple studies. So what does gratitude look like? It basically looks like giving thanks for what you got. And, you know, if you're having trouble with dating and relationships, you can get so fixated on the fact that you don't have, you know, a girlfriend, you don't have a wife, you don't have female attention, you're not like those guys who, you know, women are falling all over them, and you can get really upset about that, and you can think like, oh man, you know, you're focused on all the stuff you don't have. Start framing things as focusing on what you do have. Okay, take stock of what you actually do have going on in your life. You know, just simple things like, wow, like I have running water, and, you know, I can get food whenever I want, and, you know, I'm young, and I'm relatively healthy, and, you know, I have family, and I have friends, and I live in a computer age where I can read so much and learn so much, and I can study hobbies, and all these things you can be grateful for. You really should. And it's going to reframe things, because it's most likely that a lot of us have a natural predisposition towards focusing on what we don't have, probably because of an evolutionary adaptation that when you're focused on what you don't have, then you go after it more. But gratitude makes people happier, and this has been shown through many, many studies. It's one of the most repeating findings in positive psychology. So take that into account and be as grateful as you can, because it's going to make you happier. Okay? Don't just fixate on what you don't have, fixate on what you do have. What is going on in your life that you are happy about? And you'll find when you actually do start thinking about it that, yeah, you know what, I do have a couple friends, and, you know, I like my job, and, you know, there's these video games I like, and, you know, I like this kind of music, and, you know, I read a cool book, and that kind of thing. And it'll give you a more positive view of life, which will make you feel happier and healthier. So social relationships, gratitude, and, you know, there's a few miscellaneous things, I guess I would say. When we're looking at happiness globally, the happiest countries tend to be the wealthiest ones. So if, you know, on the off chance you're watching this in like South Sudan or something like that, then it might be in your best interest to try to emigrate somewhere happier, like Scandinavia, Canada, New Zealand. United States is, you know, it's not super high up there, but it's up there. So there are external factors. Money, some studies, there was a popular study that money leveled off for happiness around $70,000 a year, but actually some other studies have shown that basically the more money you make, the happier you are. Money always adds to happiness. So if you're not making much money, just enough, like you can barely survive, then maybe you do need to make more money. Look into getting a skill that can get you a better job down the line, or if you're, you know, you're lazy and you're only doing part-time work, or that seems like all you could do, maybe try and get into full-time work somehow, just to make enough money to support yourself and, you know, support some of your hobbies and put enough money away. So these are all things you can do. Another miscellaneous thing to keep in mind is that extroverts are happier, and the people who pretend to be extroverted are happier as well. You know, it gets back to the social relationships thing, that we are fundamentally social animals. And so, you know, isolating yourself won't make you happy, and just pretending to be extroverted, even if you're an introverted person, just talking to people more. Actually, you know, and it's funny because a lot of people underestimate how much other people want to talk to them. So, you know, this gets back to another study of, they had people talking, you know, one stranger talks to another stranger, and both people felt happier having gotten into the conversation, even though they both predicted that being silent would have made them happier. So people predict that not talking will make them happier, when in reality talking makes them happier. That's it. So, you know, I would say if you want to be happier, you know, start up conversations with people. You know, I know it's scary, but most likely they'll be happier too that you talk to them. You know, start up conversations and make sure you're not, you know, too quiet, and, you know, you're letting yourself express yourself with people. And keep in mind that it's going to make other people happier as well. So basically, to sum it up, if you are low value on the dating circuit, if you're having trouble with relationships, then at least there are some coping mechanisms that you don't even have to think of them as coping mechanisms. You can think of them as giving yourself a holistic, happy life. Like, why do you even want a relationship in the first place? Why do you even want sex in the first place? It's because you want to live a happier, fulfilled life. That's the kind of thing that would make you feel fulfilled, right? So these are also things that are going to make you feel fulfilled and will more likely lead to fulfillment in the long run. Social relationships, talking to people, gratitude practice, positivity, and, you know, if you're having troubles, then if you're having major troubles, go to therapy. You can try things like cognitive behavioral therapy. I was really big into rational emotive behavioral therapy, some spiritual practices as well. You need to take your major, you know, the major thing that you're focused on in your life has to go from dating to my own happiness and well-being, because dating is part of that. You know, you're dating because it makes you feel more happy and fulfilled. So this is going to make you happier, and I really hope that if you're struggling, you yes, you try to improve yourself as much as possible, but you also start fixating on your own happiness and your connection to other people, because that's going to make you have a more happy, fulfilled, and be less upset if you're not getting your way with dating. Okay? It's going to generally just make you feel better. So these are some things to keep in mind. I hope the video helped, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.